Good evening. Welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the programme tonight, the Supreme Court clears the controversial Central Vista project, a 20,000 crore project meant to change the facade of central Delhi. This was a majority judgment by the Supreme Court. The project can go through 2:1. Two judges said that there was nothing wrong in how the government went ahead with the project, while a dissenting judge said that there was a lack of transparency. On the show tonight, does the Central Vista project reflect the aspirations of a new India with new requirements and new aspirations, or does this destroy a part of the heritage character of central Delhi?
The India government's mega project, the Central Vista, has been allowed by the Supreme Court. The 20,000 crore project, reconstructing the heart of Delhi, was opposed by environmental experts and political parties. Of the three judges, two approved the clearances for the project and one dissented. The two judges ruled, all permissions are proper. Government can go ahead with the project. No infirmities in clearances given on land use and environment. No need for approval at the incipient stage, but approval should be sought when project materializes on the ground. And to control air pollution, set up smog towers and use smog guns at the construction site. On the criticism of spending huge money, two judges said, "We are compelled to wonder if we, in the absence of a legal mandate, can dictate the government to desist from spending money on one project and instead use it for something else. Or if we can ask the government to run their offices only from areas decided by this court. Or if we can question the wisdom of the government in focusing on a particular direction of development. Or if we can guide the government on moral or ethical matters without any legal basis." The other judge differed with the two judges, saying, "Change in land use is bad in law. There is no intelligible disclosure of public participation. These are complex issues and Heritage Conservation Panel must examine all aspects." Around 587 days left to complete the new parliament by Independence Day, August 2022, India's 75th year of independence. The Lok Sabha Speaker welcomed the verdict. Construction work will be completed on time. But opposition parties and environmentalists criticized the verdict.
A trend has emerged as far as judiciary is concerned. That is, the judiciary goes on approving the positions taken by the union government.
Though Justice Sanjeev gave a dissenting verdict, it will have no impact because the majority judgment will prevail. And this verdict is a big relief for the government, which is facing severe criticism over the Central Vista project in the national capital. In New Delhi, Arunachalam Vaidyanathan, NDTV.
Well, joining us now, A.G.K. Menon, architect, urban planner and conservation consultant. We're also joined by Alpana Kishore, who's been writing extensively on this. And Deshratan Nigam with us as well. We'll be joined by Dr. Nasir Hussain of the Congress in a few moments and Bhaskar Ghosh of the BJP. Alpana, let me come across to you first. The fact of the matter is it's now a done deal and it's going to go through. There was a dissenting judgment as well. That said, I found a couple of observations made by two of the judges to be quite interesting. One of that is, can we question the wisdom of the government in focusing on a particular direction or development? Can we guide the government on moral or ethical matters without any legal basis? Which seems to suggest that the court really didn't have very much to say on an issue like this, because ultimately it is the government that decides. But the larger issue of whether this was the right thing to do, would you agree that that remains undecided?
Sorry, I didn't get the last part of your question.
Would you agree that whether this was the right thing to do, whether this was the right project to adopt, that is in a sense undecided?
Well, I think for firstly, I would like to say that this is not a done deal.
Okay.
The judgment is a very well considered and thought out judgment. As you quoted the judges themselves saying that this is not part of their remit to say, should the government do this or should it not? Should it spend this much money or should it not? They were asked specific questions, and they have ruled on those questions about land use change, environmental clearance, etc. But I find the judgment, in my opinion, has an extremely, like I said, well thought out tenor. Because what it says is really what we have been shouting ourselves hoarse over the last 1 year. When I say we, I mean concerned citizens, activists, environmentalists, planners, architects, most of all, the architect community. which is that process has to be followed. And that is exactly what this judgment says. It says go back to the Heritage Conservation Committee, which the government in its wisdom decided not to go to at all. They are the people who have to clear the land use change. They are the people who have to give you permissions, scrutinize your application, figure out whether you're doing something wrong or right, tell you what you can do, what you can't do within the existing bylaws, etc., etc. So not only for the Central Vista, but also for the new parliament for which the Bhumi Pujan has been done, both the majority and minority opinions have said that the government has to go back to the Heritage Conservation Committee. Now, within the Heritage Conservation Committee, requirement by law is for public consultation.
Right.
That means everything has to be in front of the public. You have to disclose all your figures, your facts, your diagrams, your sketches. What is this project all about? Because till now, frankly, no one really knows.
Okay. Just one moment. Let me go across to Deshrata Nigam for more on that. Mr. Nigam, in fact, this is what the dissenting judge said. And I don't necessarily know if there's, anything over here that doesn't state the obvious. And it's what Alpana says. The dissenting judge, Justice Sanjeev Khanna, says, the central government has not placed on record even a single document or minutes to show that the objections and suggestions were considered by the central government, is what he said. In another part, they say, however, the Heritage Conservation Committee was never moved to secure approval, permission. No approval or permission has been taken. Now, that said, it could be entirely legal, as is the case, for this project to go ahead. But was there enough transparency? That's the question. Would you agree, sir, there could have been more?
Let us be very clear. This is a parliament's project and government is an implementing agency. So if you recall, it was Mr. Om Birla, the Honorable Speaker of the Parliament, who invited the Prime Minister, not the other way around. And huge amount of consultation has gone inside the Parliament, and it's not a new thing. It's been going on for a considerable period of time, and various, inputs were given, and then, such kind of project has been undertaken. You also recall that the seats for the Parliament has been frozen till 2026. And new delimitation exercise would start, and that would increase the number of seats. So this was the right time to start the project. And the committee the Supreme Court has only gone into the process and procedures, not on the merits or
Correct.
the policy. Because government is very clear they cannot dictate, Supreme Court is very clear that they cannot dictate in terms of policy matters, unless and until fundamental rights are violated. So by 2:1 ratio, it has been held that all permissions were taken. So far heritage is concerned, they are maintaining the heritage of this building. Let me be very clear, and I am confident, because this Supreme Court verdict has vindicated my stand, which I had taken on your channel and various other channels on various grounds. So about environment clearances and the number of trees that have to be planted at other places. They are also developing a 50-acre park in lieu of which at the Yamuna river bank. So all those things probably were considered by the Supreme Court. And in my opinion, I think that in India, let us be very clear, a 100-year-old building can be considered a heritage, and a 5-year-old building is lying in ruins of various, important personalities or historical monuments in India. So let us be very, very clear. The government of India, through Parliament's directions, is maintaining the heritage character of North-South block and also the Parliament, which is not going to be changed.
Okay, let me go across to Mr. A.G.K. Menon. Mr. Menon, the point being made by Deshrata Nigam is that this isn't only about the future, it's also about conserving what exists. Why do you believe this project is going to change the identity of that part of Delhi?
You see, it's like this. As the Supreme Court has said, and I have to accept the Supreme Court, that the processes have been followed. But at what cost? I'm not talking about monetary costs. I'm talking about governance costs. Let's take the example of the master plan. The whole idea of the master plan has been destroyed to do this project. It doesn't matter what the master plan says. A new government comes, a popularly elected government comes and says that we want to do this, they do it. Or let's take a question of the seats in the parliament, what to do about that old building. Well, I'm a conservation architect. I have conserved the Rashtrapati Bhavan. It's the same age as the parliament building. It has got the same seismic problems, it's got the same construction, same everything. But on the one hand, they say it is so dangerous that we better do something new. I'm sorry, I don't accept it. We have conserved the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Our president is going to live there and is perfectly safe. And we had to do things. It's not as though there are no problems. Of course, there are problems. But that's why we've got conservation architects to meet the challenge and do something about it. Or take the problem of space. Of course, the problem of space is there. Delimitation exercise will come. Something has to be done. But how do we do it? We don't have the politician coming in and saying the answer to this is to build a new parliament. What do the professionals say? What are we there for? Are we only going to be dictated by what the politician says because he's won the majority? I mean, what is the master plan? What is the planner? What is the architect? Where are the economists? Where are all these people? We build a new Jawahar Bhavan.
Vishnu, give me 10 seconds.
Yeah, just 1 minute, Mr. Nigam. Finish your point, Mr. Menon. Yeah.
Yeah. So we build a new Jawahar Bhavan for 500 crores and we demolish it. And we say, why? Oh, we want a new India. But that was a new building built by New India. So you see, there's so many misinformations that are going around, and we are labeled as, oh, you're against progress.
So, Mr. Nigam, why don't you respond to that? Again, it boils down to that central issue on whether there was enough consultation by experts over here, people like Mr. Menon himself, and the fact that he refers to in the past is that a couple of fairly new buildings, including the new External Affairs Ministry, will be taken down now, even just a few years after they were constructed, in order to construct all of this. So again, the issue of transparency, the issue of talking to people who have an opinion on our conservation and our heritage, why was that not done?
See, let me tell you, huge amount of expertise has gone into the system. Large number of experts were consulted over a long period of time, even prior to the NDA government came in 2014. It started in 1976, the process, and wide consultation has been done. Mr. Menon may not be consulted. That's not the point of the situation. The experts were consulted, and if you follow the arguments given by the other side, which means they want the building should be first catch fire, it should fall in the earthquake, and
not
then
at all.
Everybody should awaken. That's not the point. The fact is these are serious issues, and the heritage concerns have been taken care of, and India has to move on to demolish a building which is a new thing. It's a small price to pay for conservation and promotion of democracy in India, which has to be done in view of the increase in space and the strength of the parliament in future.
I'm sorry, that's not the point we're making. The point we're making is we destroy governance to do this. We have a system for 70 years. We have a system of governance. We destroy it. We have a master plan. We destroy it. We have a system of oversight. We destroy it. And then we build
nothing
it and
is
say,
destroyed, Mr. Menon. Nothing has been destroyed. Nothing has been destroyed. No, nobody has destroyed anything. In fact, democracy has become more vibrant.
No. It would be vibrant if you consulted professionals, if you consulted experts.
They have been consulted. Don't hide that information. They have been consulted.
I'm sorry, it's not true.
Alpana, let me ask you about another aspect of this. That concern was the environmental concern. And that concern stated, among other things, that the water table in that part of Delhi would be affected. There is talk of an underground system to transport, say, office workers between various buildings in that area. And that's something which is going to actually affect the environment over there. There has also been a lot which has been said about the destruction of trees. Do you believe that the project has, despite these concerns, enough safeguards to protect the environment in that area?
No, of course I don't. I mean, that's what Professor Menon has just said, that there has been no consultation of the professionals and there has been no consultation of the public. People like me, I'm a citizen, I'm not an architect. I would like to know how my city is being shaped. Just because a government has been elected doesn't mean we should all go stand in a corner and put a blindfold on for 5 years. We have to come out, we have to scrutinize projects the government is doing. We have to say, is this correct? Is this not correct? I mean, today, if I want to say, build twice the FAR of my house, I'm not allowed to do it. There's no question of allowing me to do it, but the government can do it. Who is scrutinizing them? They have not gone to the Heritage Conservation Committee, which is supposed to scrutinize them, or the NDMC. So these are questions that come in because of lack of process. That is where governance is shut down. You don't go through the correct process. This is what the court is telling you. Please go back to the process. So when you go back to the process, you will be open to scrutiny, because till now, no scrutiny has been done. So this is very, very simple, whether it's water, whether it's, pollution that's going to be caused by, destroying 10 perfectly good buildings, whatever the environmental issues are, environmental clearance has been given, which the dissenting judge has put down very clearly in a non-intelligible way. But if that clearance has been given, how do we know, because we have no access to the knowledge, whether that is indeed going to happen? So we have no idea. And that is why I feel very strongly that the public has to be consulted, which is a process that has been completely bypassed in this project.
Mr. Deshratna Nigam, would that be an important step as we go ahead with this project? There are multiple grounds in which the opposition has been stated.
See, let us be very clear. Now, this clearance has been given by the Supreme Court, and all, whatever the requirements of the law which has to be followed, whether it is transplantation of trees, whether it is for maintenance of water table through water conservation processes, or through, digging wells so that the groundwater is recharged, and various other aspects have to be taken into consideration. And that is where the government has to discharge its duties towards all the existing procedures and the laws. And that is what Supreme Court has very clearly said. They have given a go-ahead subject. Obviously, all those concerns have to be taken about environment, as I already said. So I don't think there should be any problem. These heritage buildings
Vishnu, may I make a comment here, please?
And therefore, what I am saying is we have to be forward-looking. We should not be, frozen in the past. We have to be flexible enough. And you also know that the Central Vista, the buildings, the huge amount of, government offices spread all over the place, where about 1,200 crores per annum is given on rent. All those will come at play in one place. In fact, if you look at the model, which is far more beautiful than the existing ones, the chaotic buildings which are there on the sidelines of Central Vista will go, and beautiful structures will come out. I think let's be forward-looking.
All right, Mr. Menon, to you first, Alpana after that. Quickly, sir, I'm running out of time. Mr. Menon, then Alpana.
Yeah, it's like this. This is he says is an excellent scheme. What were the alternatives? As a citizen, as in a democracy, am I not asked to see what the alternatives were and then to show this is the best scheme? No such thing has been done. A scheme has been presented and they keep repeating ad nauseum is the best scheme, it's the best scheme, it's the most beautiful scheme. How do we know? So the process has certainly not been followed, and the alternatives have not been examined. If the alternative has not been examined, the governance system fails.
Okay, Alpana, last comment to you, because I need to wrap this up. Go ahead, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we keep hearing about how beautiful and wonderful this project is. Fair enough. That's a subjective opinion, and anyone is, that's their right to state that opinion. But things like being part of a heritage zone, you have to submit to certain aesthetics and rules by virtue of being in that heritage zone. So, for instance, the heights of these buildings are as high as India Gate, which means India Gate is going to be shown down.
Yes.
Now, this skyline is a sacred part of this heritage area. We have to conserve this. These are the rules that have to be followed. These have not been followed. So how is it the most beautiful or the most? This is all subjective. Until I know what the project is, I can decide and weigh in whether it is there or not.
All right.
Or the average citizen. I can't tell. And the rules that are not being followed, those are not being talked about.
All right, we'll leave this debate over here, come back to this entire issue of aesthetics, conservation and the environment, and the changing skyline, as it were, in that part of Delhi because of the height of these buildings. But that project has gone through. It's going to be implemented. Does it justify the costs? Huge, 20,000 crores. Quickly moving on, the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has cancelled his visit to India, where he was chief guest for the Republic Day parade this year. This amidst a huge surge in COVID cases in the United Kingdom.
That means the government is once again instructing you to stay at home. But now, more than ever, we must pull together.
Well, joining us now, Professor Sanjeev Krishna. Thanks, sir, very much for being with us. He's with St. George's University at London, Professor of Molecular Parasitology and Medicine. Professor Krishna, since we spoke last, is the crisis as far as hospital beds, given the new strain, of the virus in the United Kingdom? Is it as critical?
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to join you again and to be with your viewers. You know, we are in a position where we could have predicted where we would be a few weeks ago. Many people were, many commentators, many experts were suggesting that things were getting out of hand and that we needed a strict lockdown. And very unfortunately, it gives no clinician, it gives no scientist any pleasure at all to say that in these circumstances, you know, those predictions were proved correct, and that we are now really approaching the limits of what the NHS, or indeed we have exceeded the limits of what the NHS can manage in terms of patient care. Care has been dedicated towards managing COVID patients now. Other problems are being diverted or cancelled. So we are in difficult straits, of course, and this is visible, I think, for all the world to see at the moment, unfortunately.
Professor Krishna, given what Prime Minister Johnson today said about more restrictions, some of the most stringent the United Kingdom has seen, do you believe that that could result in a somewhat faster sorting out of cases?
I think the relationship between having restrictions of the type that have come in here, the lockdown, so-called lockdowns that are in place in the different nations of the United Kingdom, I think nobody has any doubts that they do work to control the spread of infections, the increase in infections, if they are applied, if they are taken seriously. So there are two things. One is the actual restrictions themselves. The other is how well they are implemented and taken up. And I think the seriousness of what we are experiencing at the moment is well understood by the UK population in general. And I think they will bear results. But we have to bear in mind also that the virus now has changed its stripes.
Right.
It's become more infectious. And so we are battling not only against a bigger number, but also against a bigger potential for spread.
So it really, Professor Krishna, does boil down to the number of people who are given a jab, given the vaccine, and the rate at which they're given a vaccine. And the fact is, in the United Kingdom, you've changed the gap, the number of days in between jabs. And there's this huge fight in the United Kingdom to get people vaccinated as soon as possible. And so it's a battle between the number of new infections and the number of people who are vaccinated and get onto that cycle of being treated potentially. Who's winning right now? And at this rate, when could the UK get this situation under control? In weeks or possibly months?
Wouldn't everyone like to know the answer to that critical question, Vishnu? It is a fight between virus and vaccine. You're quite right. And at the moment, of course, virus is on top. And the hope is that the vaccine can be rolled out sufficiently efficiently that we can start to make an impact on the spread. Now, you know, maybe we should take a lesson from India's playbook here. You know, you've had a dry run for the 2 vaccines that are approved now, I understand, and that are going to be rolled out. And maybe, you know, we should have done our practice runs here, but we're doing this for real. We have no choice. And to answer your question, is it going to be weeks or months? It really depends on that magic number being vaccinated every week. If we can get to 2 million a week, that would be fantastic, because then we're looking at, you know, March, April, who knows? But if we can even get it above that, and why shouldn't we, if all priorities, all hands are on that particular direction, then it may be even quicker. What we cannot do, I think, is to afford a lower rate of vaccination than about 2 million a week.
Right.
Because, you know, that is what the predictions are. That's what we need.
All right, Professor Krishna, it's frightening, isn't it? The number of vaccinations, the speed, time seems to be running out. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us and explaining what the present situation in the United Kingdom is.